Burnouts. We are back. And today we're talking about the new look Miami Heat offense, the Powell propaganda movement, and the werewolf sightings we may or may not have witnessed in preseason game 2. But before we get into all that, thank you for tuning in. Seriously, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever, hit that like, follow, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It really helps the show grow, and I appreciate everyone who's been rocking with me this early on. We're like the preseason version of a podcast. Not all the stars out yet, but the potential is pretty crazy, I think, right? All right, back to business. The Heat played the Bucks in preseason game 2. No Giannis this time. His family's reportedly already moved to Greece, so we're going to get into that. So maybe he's just working remote now. Who knows? On our side, it was basically load management for half the roster. Hero, Rozier, Mitchell, Kasparis, Larson, and Fontecchio all out. Plus, Dane Danger and Golden both got DNPs, which kind of makes me wonder where Golden actually stands in this rotation now. Between Bam, Precious, Ware, and Jovic, the front court suddenly packed, like packed. Maybe the addition of Precious moved Golden out of the equation, or maybe Spo's just keeping him tucked away for a special occasion. And shout out to the crowd. I wasn't expecting loud "Let's go Heat" chants in a preseason game, but then there was that one guy, this dude who was yelling through every single Heat free throw. I'm assuming a Bucks fan, right? Probably in a half-tucked Middleton jersey or something, thinking he's shifting the momentum of a random Tuesday night in October. Not even sure what he's doing in Miami, but shout out to him. That's dedication. But imagine flying from across the country just to heckle Drew Smith, right? Whatever. Outside of that, the vibes were great. The pace was up. Bam looked aggressive. Powell looked confident. And we got more glimpses of Jovic and Jaquez and this new offense Bo's clearly trying to install. Faster pace, more flow, fewer dribble the air out of the ball than prey possessions. Daz's Spo watched last year's film and said, what if we just didn't do any of that again, right? So let's dive in. How real is this new offense? Is it actually built for Bam and Hero? And when it comes to Khalil Ware, did we get Ware or did we get the Wolf? We're going to be bringing a friend in, Adrian Izquierdo. He's going to be talking to us about some other stuff around the league, some Heat-specific stuff. We'll be getting to that after I recap some preseason game 1 after this. So we'll just get into this pretty quickly. It's only one more game of preseason. We got another one tonight that we'll be watching, Heat versus Spurs. But just from this first game at home, second preseason game, I just think I want to say, I think I love Powell. Yeah, he's a flamethrower. We're starting to see his, as Spo like to call it, his ignitability on offense. Something else that's interesting that we're kind of noticing is this partnership between him and Jovic. I think a lot of the ways that they're working together, Jovic will be able to work with Hero in similar ways. But just so far in the little time that they've spent playing together in this game 2, Jovic assisted 4 of Powell's 6 makes, which is exciting to see because we're seeing Point Jovic kind of come to a new life and how that works. I'm also very curious to see how this works out once Hero is added to the offense. It added just another level of dynamism to this offense. It gives us another scorer, 3-level scorer for us to be able to spray out to. At first, I was curious about Powell and Hero and whether they should start together. I think without a doubt, we have to at least see that, right? To just see how it works and take it from there. I'm fairly excited by the prospect of that. I think that we have enough defense between the rest of the roster to kind of help off the idea of starting both Hero and Powell. So I'm very curious to see how that goes, how Hero looks in this faster offense. I think it'll be more suitable to his game. But yet to be seen, of course. We won't see it for a little while, probably sometime into November before Hero gets back. But some other things that I noticed from this first game at home, I apologize, is Jovic in very limited minutes, flirting with a triple-double and 0 turnovers while you're at it, which is really nice, especially as this is, a new offense for not just him, but for the whole team. So him being able to get decent amounts of assists without turning the ball over at his young age in this new offense with new team members, I think that's really, really good. And yeah, it's the efficiency there. It's his mind for the game that we're kind of seen developed in a more aggressive way. It's really great for us. And honestly, personally, as a man who has a large nose, Jovic has the potential to become one of my favorite players in the league, just to represent people like me who have large noses, right? People like us, we get picked on, we get made fun of throughout our younger lives until we grow into our noses. But Jovic is showing what the potential is, right? Even for people like us. I'm mostly joking, but he does have a thing on there, right? It is a fairly decently sized nose. I could say it myself, and it's exciting. He might be the hero I've been looking for, not Tyler Hero, but the hero of people who look similar to I do. But yeah, really excited about Jovic. He had a nice alley-oop pass to Jaquez that was exciting to see. Jaquez showing off some of his athleticism there. I have seen some uh comments, mostly complaints about Jaquez and why is he getting minutes, and is there a double standard there in terms of his impact on winning compared to Ware's impact on winning. I think there's valuable conversation to be had there, but I do think that people are maybe missing some of the impact Jaquez has had so far in the preseason. I'm not negating what he did last season, and we need to see this continue, right? But while he did have some of those spin moves that he kind of relied upon that haven't worked all that well, he has had a strong plus minus for us. He's been a strong rebounder. He's had some of those full court passing instincts. It's reminiscent, not to the same skill level yet, of Kevin Love, even with some of those outlet passes that he's just kind of setting himself up for either the rebound or right after a make, being the person to inbound the ball and get it moving, get the offense started. So a lot of those assists aren't going to show up on his end of the stat sheet. It's more so like hockey assist, or the assist, or the pass to the assist. So his role in the offense, I think, is actually working well right now. We will see if this continues, if there's more growth in his game. I believe he did hit a three, which was nice to see. If he can continue to space out his game, that'll do wonders for him. Um, I did want to note that Jovic, while he's been great at being a distributor, while he's been shooting the ball pretty well, I think he still needs to learn how strong he is and how he can use his body. There was even a call that Crotty had on the broadcast where he was saying how Jovic really needs to just put his shoulder down and go to the basket when he's being guarded by a smaller defender. And it was true in that possession that he should have done that. And then in the exact possession after that, Jovic did just that. He put his shoulder down, brought himself close to the basket, and made a really easy layup. So, I think Jovic is still learning. He's still young, so that's really exciting to see. And then in terms of the how fair it is, right, when we're talking about how Spo is discussing Ware, I think if you guys are watching the game, you can see it. It's Ware's stat sheet obviously jumps off the page, but it's not about that. It's what Spo is saying. It's about his impact on winning. There's times out there where he looks like reminiscent of a Hassan Whiteside, or reminiscent of almost like a Brandon Ingram. And I don't mean these in good ways. I mean, he can look sleepy, right? It's the conundrum of being a werewolf. Sometimes you're just a guy, you're just a mortal man, but then sometimes you're a wolf out on the prowl. And we saw that for like 3 minutes. Spo kept referencing this 3 minute stretch where Ware really did look like he was kind of taking over, obviously against G Leaguers and second stringers, but he was impacting winning in those minutes, right? But outside of that, it was a little bit lazier. So we need to see it just consistent. Spo sees the talent there. We all see the talent there. It's a matter of, can he do this the whole time he's on the court, every minute that he's playing? And that's what we all hope to see. That's what we all want to see. There's a ton of potential there. That random flick layup over the backboard, falling out of bounds, that he made was insane to watch. And whether it's luck or skill or some combination of the two, seeing a 7-footer being able to hit a shot like that is pretty exciting. We can see it. I am very excited to see how many minutes Ware against Wemby tonight against the Spurs. Wemby will obviously be with the starting unit. So far, we've had Ware mostly in our backup unit, so I don't know how much that'll overlap as much as it would in a real game. But I do hope that we see some of it, because the last time they matched up, it was exciting. Obviously, the size is similar, so Wemby is bigger. But I hope that we do get a little bit of that in the Spurs game tonight. It should be a fun one. So let's see. Let's see what happens there. I think Ware is still a prospect, right? I think he's going to have to earn his minutes and earn his role as a starter one day. I don't think he will be a starter this year as long as we have a healthy lineup. But I did want to call out just some things that, in his 40 total preseason minutes thus far, he has 22 rebounds. That's really good to see. Again, he had that mix of highlight layups. He had some putbacks, but he did have some sloppy turnovers that really, stifle the offense. For as good as you play, if you have a bunch of turnovers, it's not going to help. I really think he needs to look into maybe a Celsius sponsorship, maybe a Red Bull partnership, maybe a prescription for Adderall. that might help him stay locked in. And I'm only half joking. It's a shame that Jimmy Butler's not on the team anymore to get him jacked up on coffee before the games, because it really does feel like when he is locked in, he has the potential to be a beast. So we will see it. I do think it's a little unfair of Spo to reference the exact plus minus of Ware's, because Ware's plus minus is bound to take a hit when he's playing with mostly G Leaguers out there. It's not like he's playing with the starting lineup. If you subbed Ware in for Hawkes, how would that affect his plus minus, and vice versa? I think there would be some significant differences, but I do get the overall message. While Spo was just boiling it down to plus minus, I think it's more so what we saw with our eyes, that when he's locked in, he's impacting winning. When he's not locked in, well, he's not really impacting winning in the way that we would hope for that. So we will see if he can continue to build that concentration, build that focus and that fire as we move into the rest of preseason and start making our way towards the regular season. Something I did want to mention that's not going to be talked about in this episode, but we will be talking about in future episodes for sure, that I am incredibly excited about, and I think the rest of you should be excited about too. October 16th. Yes, set your calendars. That's just about over a week from today. We have the season 2 of Starting Five, Netflix's NBA show. Season 1, I will say, was all right. It was decent. I think there was some learning they had to do there. I think the gold medal Olympic show was much better. But this season, it's going to be, of course, because they filmed it during last season, it's going to be pretty exciting just for the reason of the players they got that they kind of lucked into, or they're genies. They have Halliburton, SGA, so 2 of our finals makers, the players who made the finals, SGA who won MVP, Halliburton who shocked the league, who had one of the most exciting runs we've maybe ever seen, or, up there for sure, with, the choke sign in New York, the game winners, all that. We're going to get both of them behind the scenes for this whole run. We're going to get Jaylen Brown, so another playoff team, some of the drama around Jason Tatum getting injured, just around that season in general, maybe get some insight into what the hell was getting Porzingis off the court. And then we also have Harden and KD, so we're going to be getting some of the Clippers' point of view, who they had a pretty good season, a pretty good run, and then we're going to be getting some of Kevin Durant and what the hell was going on with the Suns. So I think it's going to be a really, really great season. I encourage everyone to watch this show. While Netflix does release all the episodes at once, what we'll be doing likely on this podcast is just going episode by episode and just having a little segment, during, before, in the middle, at the end of each of these podcasts, where we just kind of talk about what happened in episode 1, what happened in episode 2. So it'll be a little follow along for you all. I think it'll be interesting. But I look forward to watching it, and I look forward to talking about it with you all and with friends of the pod. So it'll be pretty good. But without further ado, we do have a guest. He'll be coming on here. We'll be talking about some Heat stuff, some league-wide stuff, and then we'll be getting out of here. Just a quick in and out, and hoping that you all enjoy the game tonight. We will be recording another pod later this week, TBD on the date, but looking forward to it. And we're here. We're back. We're joined by a very good friend, a fellow basketball junkie. I'm going to say this about most of the friends we have on this pod, because it would be weird to not have a basketball junkie on here. He's been here before, but we're happy to have him here again. Adrian Izquierdo, thanks for joining the show today.
What up, what up, what up? Happy to be here, man.
Thank you, man. So, we're in preseason. I don't necessarily expect you or anyone really to have watched too much preseason game. As far as I've seen these only 2 games, we're getting some starter action in the first quarter, the second quarter, then third, fourth quarter. It's a lot of G Leaguers, a lot of 2-way contracts, and where that's pretty much what it's been. Especially because we had 5 players out for the first preseason game. We had 6 players out for the second preseason game. So that's you're starting to dig real deep into the bucket of talent when you're having to play these players, and for good reason. I also want to point out, I've seen some things on the Reddits, on the webs. People question why is Spo playing all these G Leaguers? Why not just play the Rooks or Drew Smith or Ware more? And it's it's preseason, and someone, I forgot what coach said it best, but you kind of want to give credit, thanks to the players who have been involved in training camp, who aren't going to be on the roster, and give them a chance to play in front of TV, in front of fans. So it's almost like you spend some of it, two quarters of the game, maybe 3/4 of the game, testing out your players. Then it's go out there, show out. Maybe sometimes, we've seen players ball out in preseason and end up maybe getting a contract. So I don't think either you nor I have an issue with like a Trevor Keels or any of these players getting fourth quarter minutes in a preseason game.
No, for a lot of them, it's a tryout, really. If you can't make it on this team, well, let's see if you can show that you're good enough to make it on another team. I feel like that's a lot of the situation in second half basketball during the preseason. I think though, there's a lot more nuggets than meets the eye in the first half, with a
for
lot of the
sure.
different things that teams like to try in preseason. It doesn't always work, but you can look back a few months later down in the season and be like, okay, remember them trying this in the preseason, and now they're bringing it out come February, March, and it's like, okay, all right, now I see what you were trying to do with this, you know?
So that brings us to the first topic. I think it's something we've talked about a little bit on the pod, but still, preseason's just started. We're only just now seeing more and more of it, seeing how much of a trend there is here. Uh, the Heat are playing fast right now. They're for sure. Spo is pulling things from the Pacers playbook, right? Not necessarily exact plays, but just the idea of passing the ball. It's almost like the 7 seconds or less Suns. Anthony Chang actually mentioned that in practice, Spo has been implementing this 4 second rule to cross half court. Powell mentioned that quote. So this is something that's currently happening. So you can kind of see the intention there. And with that, there has been a few like sloppy turnovers and stuff. You could tell they're still getting used to it. But just in terms of like, how do you feel with the idea that maybe going into the season, we're not going to have that like really hard to watch, grind to dust, every game out the mud Heat offense, and maybe this more fun, spread the ball around, run fast up and down the court offense? Are you looking forward to that?
I think it's a necessary change for the Heat at this point. I do believe we're a very young team. There's a lot of injuries in the East. We are a very young team, and I do think that moving with pace on offense is going to help us score a lot more points. In turn, yeah, you will get more turnovers. That's just a natural part of it all because you're doing a lot more risky things.
Yep.
um, you are probably going to allow more points on defense, which is something different for the Heat. I know we all know Spo's a defensive guru and he's a mastermind and he's going to do what he can to mitigate some of that. But in this high pace back and forth, as we've seen in most Pacers games, they're very high scoring on both sides. And the Pacers do play really good defense,
They do.
but it's just the nature of the style of play. The other day in the Puerto Rico game, well, sorry, the Heat preseason game in Puerto Rico,
Yep.
I noticed a few times um, Orlando would score a bucket and the Heat would then make three passes down the court in less than 4 seconds. They were already scoring a basket. That's something very different than what we've
Yeah,
seen in the last 5 years from the Heat. It's exciting. I do think it's going to take an adjustment period for the fans' sake. I think that the fans are going to be going crazy about defense for a while, but I think that that's just part of the adjustment to this new style of play.
for sure. Yeah, I think it's going to be a different defense than we've seen before. But also, like, two things just to note. That first preseason game, we had a record high pace, something we've never really had before, of a 107.5, I believe, was for the whole game. And this last game, we even upped that. We were at 109.5 pace. And I checked just to make sure, is this like, for that was for the full game. What is it for the first two quarters? How are our starters or more
Okay.
actual NBA players running? And that was a 109.4. So same thing. They're running down the court. I think you're gonna hate me for this, but again, I'm a Wiggins guy, but not just Wiggins. I think it maximizes a lot of the talent on our roster in terms of just what their strengths are. Bam, while he does have the ability to dribble the ball, if he's not, he's a pretty talented ball handler for his size. I think more than anything, he is very athletic. He's a huge lob threat. Jovic as well is a lob threat. Wiggins himself is a lob threat. Ware is a lob threat. I'm not too familiar with Precious Achiuwa's game and how ready he is as in terms of catching lobs, but the point being is that even Haka's had one this past game. But the point being, we have a lot of athletic players who are lob threats. And when you're running down the court, you're applying that pressure in, to the front court. And then that allows you to either get someone in a good position where they can score a layup, an easy dunk, or a lob, or you're just creating a little bit of extra spacing, a little gravity away from our shooters like Powell and Hero. And when you're running that fast, because once the defense gets set, once everything gets set, then they can, play around with that a little bit more. But when you see a Bam speeding down the court, you got to speed with him, or else he's going up in the air and he can jump pretty high and catch it. So I think I am very interested to see maybe not the first 5 games, but the first 10, first 15 games when this seems a little bit more normal. We also haven't yet seen this offense with any of our guards besides Norman Powell. So how does Hero fit in this offense? I think he'll be fine for the most
I
part.
think it fits him perfectly. I
Yeah.
think it's better for him. He loves getting out in transition. I think our team, the players love getting out in transition on our team.
It's
I
more
think
fun.
it suits us a lot. I think Spo had like the terminology during the Big Three era of the Mack truck lanes, which are
Yes.
those sprinting lanes right to the basket on fast breaks and on transitions. And I think it's going to be huge offensively for us this year. I do think that the faster pace will allow for a lot more of those quick pick and roll actions that our team loves to do,
Yeah.
and especially in those high pick and rolls with Bam, with Nico, even with someone like Khalil as well. Between Norman, Powell, Tyler Hero, even people are gonna say this, but he's gonna play.
He's going to
Terry
play.
Rozier,
He's going to
he's
play.
gonna play. Like, there's just no other alternative right now. He's not going anywhere right now. It is what it is. So we just have to get used to it as Heat fans. He will be playing.
Yeah.
And I do think this helps his game a lot because very hit or miss. But
I
I
agree.
think they're gonna take the approach of the same kind of approach where that Boston took, in the sense of we're just gonna keep putting up shots and the numbers say we'll score more points that way if we put up more shots.
Yeah, yeah. I think if there's any way to salvage Terry Rozier, this kind of offense will help him. I mean, at the end of the day, like transition buckets are the easiest buckets, and Terry Rozier, for all his faults, he's still an athlete. He could still get down the court. He could still make some pretty wild layups. He could still shoot the ball sometimes. Sometimes. So I do think. I mean, regardless, we have to play him. Even if we want to trade him, you got to create some kind of value there. So you're going to need to see him at least, especially to start the season. We don't even have Hero. So he's going to get some minutes. He'll be playing over Kasparis almost without a doubt. We don't play rookies for the most part. It took Ware until like 6 months into the season to start getting minutes last season. So I don't
Yeah.
doubt that he's going to play. Uh, it's also, it's interesting because there's like notions going around, and so far it's kind of looked this way that like, are we playing Jovic at the point guard? Kind of not on the lineup, but just in terms of who's going to have the ball in his hands the most and who's going to be creating the offense. He assisted 4 out of 6 of Powell's shots, and it was all just, either Jovic bringing the ball up the court, running coast to coast, setting himself in a good position and spraying it out to a shooter, or finding Powell on a cut, or in a pick and roll action. I think they're starting to diversify Jovic, almost using him as like an advanced version of what we used to do with Bam. But Bam was a lot more like dribble handoff actions than Jovic. And to your point about the Mack truck lanes, it like you fired some synapses for me. I didn't think about it. Powell had mentioned too in practice, there's something they've been doing where once you catch the ball, you can't dribble anymore. So they've just been using cutters as the driving action constantly. So it's like grabbing the ball and thinking about who's cutting, who's getting open, who can I pass it to get themselves an easy bucket. And I think you're starting to see some of that in terms of like those Mack truck lanes where Jovic will catch the ball off on the wing and you'll see Norman maybe sprinting around, cutting in, or Wiggins cutting in from baseline, and just kind of, there's a lot of movement, a lot of action. It keeps the defenses guessing. And I mean, when you look at the roster, and none of these players are like a Jokic level passer, right? But a lot of them are decent passers. Jovic can pass the ball. Bam Adebayo can pass the ball. Wiggins is not bad in terms of in his history, his turnover ratio is not that bad. He knows how to find the right guy, find the open guy. He learned a lot of that too playing in a Curry system where you're always on the lookout for somebody running around and making sure that, that guy's the
Yeah.
guy who's going to get it. Tyler Hero's actually not too bad of a passer. Norman Powell's a really smart player. I think there's a lot of opportunity here where with the Pacers, definitely more of that offense flew through just Halliburton and how incredibly gifted he is at passing the ball. He's a freak of nature. But in this one, it's kind of like just win by community, I feel like. And look, as Heat fans, and Jovic even mentioned it, we were able to rely on like that slower grind you out offense when we had a Jimmy Butler. Because when the score was 96-94 in the fourth quarter, Jimmy Butler was going to find a way to get fouled, get to the rim, do something crafty. That was, I mean, he was amazing at those clutch plays, but we don't have that guy anymore. For everybody's faults, I love Hero when the offense is moving fast. The first three-quarter Hero's awesome. The fourth quarter Hero when the defense locks in on him and he's just dribbling the ball, trying to figure out what the hell to do. Don't love that version of Tyler Hero. So I think,
Nope.
yeah, to your point, like run up and down the court. Let's go fast. If we miss, we miss. Let's go. We'll go again. Just keep it moving and don't get us stuck in these possessions where we're like maybe even
Throwing
leading
up a shot
significant.
with 3 seconds left just
Yeah,
because.
a prayer. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
that's
I
not
do
going to go
think
anywhere.
the Nico thing is gonna be good to double back on later in the season.
Yeah,
I do think that this is something that they may open up with, to start the season, especially as we don't have Tyler. But then I have a feeling there's gonna be some growing pains there. Obviously, just like there was for Bam in the beginning. While he did a great job of it, being able to bring up the ball consistently and all of
for
that,
sure.
there's definitely gonna be growing pains there. Like you said, obviously the quick passing, the quick movements off the ball are gonna help a lot. But I do think that as the season goes on, that's something that's gonna grow, especially with Nico. I'm a big fan. I think that this year he's gonna take the next step. I think that the Heat being able to get this contract done before the season helps save them a lot of money that they would have to pay him after the season's over.
Yep. Yeah. And we're going to dig into an eco contract in a little bit. But one thing I did want to jump to, and this is a topic that I've also somewhat talked about, but have, listened to people around the league, tried to, stay up to date with what maybe more educated people than me who follow other teams more closely than me think. And if you're a listener to this podcast, just know I am going to often quote Zach Lowe. He is my favorite basketball mind. I mean, and that's not a niche take. He's one of the best sports writers in the NBA, one of the best NBA podcasters. He has connections to every team. He's an incredibly talented, smart man. Um, on his most recent podcast, he was talking to John Hollinger from The Athletic, who is also a smart man, not someone who I would, take an opinion lightly from. But Hollinger had an opinion that the Heat were one of the most confusing teams in the league to him, right? This was a segment they were bouncing back and forth talking about that. And when Hollinger was listing through, and he had a lot of valid points as to why we're confusing, but I think something that happens to not just him, but to others when they get confused by this roster, which a lot of us are too. Where are we going? Are we keeping Bam and Hero? Are we going to pay Hero all this money? What can Jovic really be? Can Ware reach his full potential? Are we going to keep Norman Powell after this year? Are we trying to trade Wiggins? Like, I'm with you. There's a ton of confusion and questions, but none of that actually affects what we currently have on the roster and what the current talent level is. And I think people let that bleed into it and make you think worse just because there are questions going forward, right? So
Hmm.
when he mentioned that, Zach Lowe chimed in and he had, just to summarize it, to paraphrase, and I liked it because I agree. He thinks that the Heat are much closer to the teams that are vying for that top 6 in the East, like not the play-in teams, but the teams that'll probably be in the top 6, than they are to the group below that. So, and Lowe said it himself, he's kind of low on the Pacers, kind of low on the Celtics, but he thinks we're closer to the Hawks, Magic, to the Pistons, the Bucks, the Knicks, the Cavs. We're more
Yeah.
so in that group than we are with the ones under that group. And I agree. Look, I think the Cavs are going to be an amazing regular season team, emphasis on regular season. I think the Knicks are going to be an amazing regular season team, also emphasis on regular season. But I don't see where all these teams are so much better than we are. Like, are you thinking the Pacers or the Raptors are going to be better than the Heat, or the Celtics are going to be better than the Heat this year?
Um, Not necessarily, and I say that with all the bias in the world as a
Of
Heat
course.
fan. Um, I do think that the East is up for grabs. I think the team to watch out for is Detroit. Everyone forgets Detroit, if it wasn't for their inexperience, would have beat the Knicks in the first round last year.
And
They
it's
threw
going to get better.
multiple games away in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah. And they had injuries last year.
Yeah, I think that team is the team to watch out for in the East because the Knicks made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and Detroit made them look very, very mid.
Yeah.
They
There was
just
a big
couldn't
chance
finish
of an
the
upset
job.
there.
They just couldn't finish the job. I think we're in that group, especially given all the injuries in the East this year.
Of
I
course.
think we're in that top group of the 5, 6 in the East. I do not think we'll be playing for a play-in spot, barring injuries.
Barring injuries, of course.
Um, As
How do you
the
feel about
Norman Powell situation helps a lot.
how do you feel about the
If
Sixers? Do you think Embiid is
I
gonna
really
play
don't know what to
basketball?
expect
Yeah,
because will Embiid play?
that's yeah.
That's
No one
the
knows. Daryl
how
Morey
many
doesn't
games
know.
will Embiid play? And if he does play, how useful will he be? Is he gonna get 40 points and then not play any defense and then they lose like what was happening? I'm not sure. That's tough. I think the health situation with Embiid's gonna tell the story of the East. I
Yeah,
think this season, him and Giannis will be the stories of the East, in my opinion, for two different reasons.
yeah.
One for injury, one for trade speculation. Um,
There's a lot of that.
yeah, but I massive Tyrese Maxey fan. I'm still upset that the Heat passed up on him.
Yeah.
I get it because stuff happens in the drafting process. Everyone passed up on Devin Booker, and we everyone sees how that went.
Which, I mean,
It's
that
just one of
contract of
those
his
that
right
hurts,
now is
but at the same
insane, but
time,
yeah.
Maxey's a game changer. Maxey's also a heat killer.
Yeah.
Always has been
Yeah, he's like one of the
since he's
reasons
come
why
into the league.
if there's a
He's a
healthy
heat
Embiid,
killer.
I don't wanna play the Sixers if there's a healthy Embiid, not just because of Embiid, but because of Maxey. He would cook.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. But I'm not worried about where we'll be. I think we're gonna be in that top batch. I think that the East is up for grabs this year, man. And I'll never count out Spo in a playoff
that's
in a 7-game series. It's not happening.
I'll never, yep, never count out Spo. I don't care. It doesn't matter what we're going against unless you're just that dominant of a team, and I don't see those teams right
Or
now.
we don't show up like they did this year in the playoffs.
I
They shot their load trying to get into the playoffs and then did nothing when they got there.
did nothing. That was a team that had no hope in terms of like internally what they
Exactly.
felt. And I did want to mention, and like, we talked about this a little bit pre-pod, but I feel like the league has maybe forgotten that Bam Adebayo is an amazing player. Uh, it's
Media has.
the media has,
Media has.
not the coaches, not fellow players. I think he gets his respect from those people, the people who matter most, right? But it befuddles me that I see people talking about the Heat and comparing us to the Raptors, and they're like, "Oh, well, the Raptors have Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes, and well, what do the Heat have?" It's like Bam Adebayo's better than both those players right now. Like, sure, Scotty Barnes, I see the potential. I see what people mean. 3 years from now, maybe 2 years from now, he could be an All NBA level talent, a great player. But we're talking about this year. This year, right
Yeah.
now, there's no reason for me to say that those players are better than Bam, and there's no reason for me to even think that those players are better than Tyler. I so
I'm
I
with you. I'm
yeah,
with you.
I
I think
I
it's a
don't
lot
get
of
it.
media garbage. I think that the Heat don't get the respect that they deserve because they don't play the game with the media. Um, they choose not to go that route,
That's
and
true.
I think that it hurts them. I do think that that's what's hurt Bam in his quest for a defensive player of the year. I think that's what's hurt Spo in a quest for a coach of
Coach
the
of the
year.
year. Yeah, that's
Because
a good
the
point.
media does have a say, and if you do not play the media game, they will not vote for you. It's a you scratch my back, I scratch yours type of situation. The whole league knows it, the fans know it, and it's kind of disgusting, and they need to fix it.
Yeah,
But as long as that's the case, the Heat players will never get the respect that they deserve in the media. Last season was the first time the Heat ever had someone up there speaking up for them. Shout out to UD.
shout out to UD.
Finally, giving some perspective, some honesty
Yeah,
on the lack of respect that the Heat receive, and it just doesn't shock me at this point. It
no.
doesn't. We'll never get that respect as long as we choose to not play the media game with them.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, like they're giving Bam a similar treatment to what people gave Rudy Gobert in a different world because Rudy Gobert is like all defense, no offense. Bam has a much better mix of that. Uh, but it's like because that Bam never reached that ceiling or hasn't reached that ceiling that people are maybe hoping for him on offense, that they're forgetting just how talented he is on defense. And because the defense isn't flashy, it's not always a ton of blocks, even though he has had some pretty crazy highlight blocks, but it's usually more just solid lockdown D where the defender doesn't even bother trying to shoot against him because what are they going to do? They're wasting their
Or they
time.
don't even get the ball.
Or they don't get the ball. Or they don't get the ball. It's shut down, lockdown D, and that's not the kind of stuff that gets highlights. That's not the kind of stuff you see unless you're watching Heat games, which the Heat had not been a fun team to watch. So I don't necessarily blame people for not watching all the games in the past. But it's yeah, it's just it's crazy to me to think that they're You know who played in the Olympics? Bam Adebayo. He played a significant role in our gold medal Olympic team. You know who
Played a
didn't?
lot more than other centers that were on that roster.
You know who didn't play? Jason Tatum. You know what the height difference is in these players? I think people forget because Bam is so talented on D that he's not 6'10, he's not 6'11, he's not 7 foot, he's 6'9.
Yeah,
He's 6'9 guarding Embiid, guarding Giannis, like this
guarding
Jason
Jokic.
guarding Jokic. He is incredibly talented, incredibly strong, and hopefully this year with us adding Jovic, us adding Ware another year, us adding even Precious, who's looked pretty decent in his first few preseason games, you know, I think we're going to see a different Bam. I'm hoping we do. Ramil from Locked On Heat, he mentioned that Bam is poised for career high free throws per game. And I think so too. It's
I
been
think that'll help his points average. But
those are the
like
easy buckets.
my issue with the Heat fan base and specifically is that you want someone to be a top 5 defender in the league. Top 3 probably.
Yeah, top
Defender
three.
in the league, right? But you also want him to be a top 10 scorer in the
You
league.
can't do that.
You can't. Dude, it's just not realistic. The amount of responsibility that he's got on the
He was
defensive end
facilitating the whole
is
offense.
ridiculous.
They want him to be the
And he had to
offensive hub, the
facilitate
scorer, and the
exactly.
defense. You can't do all those things. Like they're
And
talking about
score
it.
25 a game. It just doesn't there's not enough basketball for that or human for that, to be
They,
honest with you.
they're just talking about this now with Nemhart on the Pacers, who was an incredible defender last year, an incredible player last year, like all the flowers to him. But they've said with Tyrese out, Nemhart's going to be running the offense more. With Nemhart running the offense more, that means that someone else, Neesmith or another player on that team, is going to have to get the first option on defense because
Yeah.
they recognize, just like all of us do, if you got the first offense, like the first option on defense, you're probably not doing everything on offense. The days of like the Kobe Bryants, the Dwayne
The
Wade,
game's too quick now.
the
Yeah,
game
the
is too
pace has
quick.
changed completely.
It's not. It was different when it was ISO ball and you were just kind of staying in front of one guy.
And
But
teams were scoring 80 points a game, you
yeah,
know?
you're chasing some guy for 120 points a game. You're not playing offense well. That's not the way it works. You could do it from possession to possession, right? But not
Yeah, in spots, last 2 minutes of each quarter, stuff like that,
in
you
crunch
can
time.
really emphasize that, but to expect that person to be top 10 in scoring, but also be top 3 defensively, that's just not
Unless you're some freak of
realistic,
nature, some freak of nature, like
that we have not seen yet.
uh,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
like the Greek freak in his prime. I mean, he's still somewhat in his
Yes,
prime. I think his defense is a little bit, even now at his age, he can't do it to the extent he used to.
and be careful with the one of the Thompson twins, man. If they
You're
develop
right.
a shot,
Those guys are freaks. They are
they can definitely be top 10 in defense and offense.
if yeah.
For sure. One of them can. I don't know which one, but
one,
if they
one,
develop a shot, one of them can.
yeah.
That's
I
for sure.
I agree with that. But
I think with the Bam issue, like a lot of it stems from similar to what happened with Russ, where people just got tired of watching him get a triple double, right? The first time he got it, unanimous MVP, this, that, and the third. It was the greatest thing in the world. The next season, he did it again.
yeah,
And it just kind of breezed by like it wasn't important. And
people
then
want
the
something
third
new.
year, he almost did it. And it's like, all right, well, what are we like? They completely forgot. And then now look at what Russ has become in the league media wise. I think the constant need for like they're always going to forget the more you do something. And I think that people forget how great Bam is
Yeah.
because they just keep expecting more. Yet, statistically, he's always given us more every year. His points have gone up every single year
Yeah. Last year was his first down year in a while. And there was who would have thought with a ton of drama around the team, with a player who was
with the
actively
injury
the
issues,
injury
all of
issues, a
that.
player straight up not trying for the first half of the year. Like obviously it wasn't going to go well, but I did want to touch on the idea. There's been rumors swirling around the league about Giannis has been brought back up, that there was reports that he might have been traded to the Knicks in the summer. There was discussions between the two teams. There's also reports that his family is living in Greece.
Yeah,
Kevin O'Connor from Yahoo Sports pointed out that the only direct flight in the U.S. to Greece that runs year long is out of Newark, New Jersey. So the only two teams that are near New York, New Jersey, the Brooklyn
yeah,
Nets and the New York Knicks. I do think the Knicks trade is maybe smoke because I don't think they don't have any of their own picks anymore. The only assets they have is OG Anunoby, Cat, and but they're
The
not gonna.
Villanova squad.
But like, why would the Bucks want in a situation where you trade Giannis? You're not looking to get back a bunch of good older players.
Well, no, but what's gonna happen is a lot of it'll have to be a multi-team
They'd have to
trade.
turn those into picks, right?
Exactly, where you're gonna start looking at 3rd and 4th teams to start taking those players and give their picks in.
It does get
Um,
complicated.
yes.
It's not always easy, especially when the
So,
players like Cat is talented, but he's not the right fit for a lot of teams. You need a very specific
no, Cat
scenario.
also is supposedly gonna be playing the 4 this year. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean that's if
With yeah, with Giannis, I do believe that I read the Shams report, and he said that the only team he was interested in moving to is New York because of XYZ reason, right?
yeah,
I did hear that Miami was
willing.
willing to make an offer, but again, that there was just not enough interest there. Let's see how things look when the season starts. I think the one thing we can say for sure is that Giannis will not be staying in Milwaukee, whether it's this year, the year after. There's just too much noise. And when agents and teams and when all the behind the scenes stuff starts happening and things start to creep out into the media, as we saw in the Jimmy Butler thing last year,
Yeah, it's
it gets nasty. I was one of the people that didn't believe Jimmy wanted to leave in
me
the
too.
beginning
I was like,
because
no.
I felt it was just media garbage. And then as the season progressed, you
When he
start to
started
see,
dyeing his
oh, okay,
hair.
so Jimmy really did feel this way.
Yeah,
So once the agents start leaking stuff to media and the media starts putting out statements for teams,
it's too much.
and
It
once
adds turmoil in the
Ramona
locker room.
Shelburne starts doing interviews with people from the league, it's up. It's
Yeah.
up. Giannis is gonna be out of there. It's a matter of when, not if.
By next season, I think, like you said, and I do think people might be sleeping on Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a ton of their own picks. They have a ton of young assets that they could trade.
But why go there? He wants to win.
He's if they empty the clip, I mean they drafted 5 first rounders this year, and I think they have. I did the checking. They have most of their own first round picks up until 2032. I mean, it'd have to be a complete revamp of the roster. They'd have to be trading for Giannis and something else. You know,
A lot more
a lot
because
more.
what the odds that someone does what OKC was able to do are very slim.
It's
And
hard.
every team's trying to do it now, but it's not simple as we've seen.
Yeah.
OKC is one of one for what they've been able to do with their draft picks.
And maybe Giannis just wants to leave in free agency in 2027. That would be a little bit later, and that's part of why the construct of Jovic's contract is actually so that it raises these next years and then dips in 27 because Giannis, as well as a few other players, are open in the
Yeah.
free agency market. It's also just a very tradable contract in general.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily want to trade Jovic, but for Giannis, you're willing to do a lot of things for a Giannis level player, right? If that,
Even make a deal with Greek Airlines so that they pass through MIA
yeah,
at
yeah,
least once a day.
yeah, right. We gotta gotta
The
get some stuff.
Arisons will make that happen.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get him a cruise line to Greece every year. Just
Hey, man,
yeah, it wouldn't be bad. But
whatever he wants.
I do think it's set in stone that it's gonna be whether it's this year or next year. Giannis is out of there. There's a few other things that I want to hit you with before we get you out of here. Very quick note. This is just a one liner, but Depot, who is playing for a
Hey,
Chinese
man.
team,
Hey, man.
he put up 25, 5, and 1 against the Spurs. Five
We
steals,
were
five
talking about
rebounds.
tryouts.
Yeah,
That's what it is, man.
yeah.
Hey,
It's a shame that he
I
couldn't
just
stay
love
healthy for us.
everything about the player, man. I
Yeah,
love
I
everything
love him.
about the player, the way he approaches the game, the way that we hear he approaches working every day. The kind of teammate he is. I mean, he was around the Heat team for like 3, 4 years, playing every other year for 5 games and then getting hurt again,
Yeah,
and always had a smile on his face when he was around his teammates.
great
Oh,
locker room
you
guy.
can't that presence is needed, and he's been through a lot. But man, it sucks because as a Heat fan, I'm like, I would love to have him back. But at the same time, I do know that
His,
at some point he's
he-
more than likely gonna get injured again, and it sucks.
yeah,
I
he's
mean,
a.
Spo and the whole front office has spoken extremely high of Oladipo, man.
I hope he does end up back in the NBA. I think that'd be cool. I don't think it'll be with the Heat, but it would be dope. Just to see him on a team, get him maybe just one more shot, right? At seeing if he could stay healthy because the talent is there. It's really just questions around health. And then talking about talent, Have you seen any clips of Cooper, Wemby? How are you feeling about these two young
So
prospects coming to the league? Skinny Zion, some fun new
I
faces.
have not seen Skinny Zion yet play basketball. I've
It,
seen the social media stuff, but I have not seen him play
it looks
basketball
good,
yet. It does. I gotta check it out. I have seen some Wemby stuff. Let's see, man. The blood clot thing kind of scared me
of course. Yeah,
because that's something that, as we saw with Chris Bosh, doesn't
yeah.
just go away. I know he did all types of, excuse me, he did all types of training and stuff like that to better his physical health.
They're saying it's not
Um,
expected to return. But obviously, that's what they're gonna say.
of
Let's
course,
hope that I would. I don't want that to happen to him, right? None
of
of us do.
course,
So let's hope that he can, because from what we do see when he's on the court,
it's special, man. The man went from training with monks to training with Kevin Garnett.
like,
Talk
what's that?
about polar opposites. I
Yeah,
love every bit of it though,
he's awesome. He's
because you need it.
yeah.
You need it to be a killer at that level. You do need to understand discipline and all that stuff, but you also need to know how to be a killer.
I want to see
KG's
Wemby
the right
talking
guy for
shit.
that.
I need some Wemby shit talking. I want it in French. I want him just fucking going at players, getting them pissed off. Because what are you gonna do against this guy, dude? Like,
It's
he's
impossible. They asked him the other day about training with KG, and he had some very choice words for it, but he was very careful. But
yeah,
you could tell what he was talking
yeah,
about when he said it was different training with KG in the
yeah.
off season than training with other people.
The
Just the way he thinks.
there's only like one player who's like in the league right now who's like cut from the same cloth as KG, and that's like Anthony Edwards, kind of like it's and KG was even.
Yeah.
I'd say
KG
I'd
was
say
even more disrespectful with it.
I'd say Cooper is also up that alley in terms of like aggression, and there's going to be some disrespect, especially coming from like naturally when you're a white boy in the NBA. There's a chip on your shoulder, right? We've seen countless player interviews talking about going at the white guy, like coming for the white guy. But Cooper doesn't
Of
play that
course.
shit, and Cooper's
He can ball, man.
he's looking good, dude. Bringing the ball up the court, passing it around, scoring with some ease, like.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be too many players that wanna trade back and forth points with him throughout a game because 'cause they're probably gonna lose.
He's really good, man. I am very excited for him. The questions are just around his offense and how common it could be. In his first preseason game, he had a few pull-up threes, like just dribble pull-up threes, and that was something that no one thought he had in his bag. If he has the
Mm.
pull-up three in his bag, it's
But it's also preseason.
it's
Is
preseason.
that inefficient
Yeah.
action during the
It's
season? We
preseason and
don't
he's a
know.
rookie. But if that can come
Yeah,
alive in 2 years, 3 years, like, if it's by his third. I mean, Anthony Edwards' first year, he wasn't shooting threes, and then the next year, he became
of
one of the
course.
best
I
three-point
think
shooters in the league.
don't look any further than the Heat. I think Bam's three-point shooting this year is gonna take another leap from
They
last year, and it's only gonna keep growing.
So I've mentioned this a countless times. Towards the last 3-4 months of last season, Bam had an uptick in shots from three, and there was an uptick in his shots made from three. So he was shooting more and making more, right, from three. It was a good trend for a good couple months. There hasn't been too much of that in preseason yet. Also, we don't have our regular roster, so it's a little bit complicated in that terms. But when there was one play I noticed when we were watching it that they actually did a dribble handoff that had Bam as like a decoy, and he was running around the 3-point line, and they passed it off to him to shoot the three. He didn't make it. It was his only three of the preseason game. It was a half a game, but they're already running actions for Bam to shoot threes, which looks pretty good. So I'm kind of excited about that. But thank you, Adrian. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. We will definitely
No
be
problem,
talking to you
man.
again. But yeah, appreciate you, man.
Basketball's right around the corner, man. I love it. It's
Yeah.
here. End of the month, regular season starts, and go Heat, baby.